Hi, I'm Alison. Welcome to Dream Chasers Adventures in Happiness, where my band of superhero guests and I share with you tales of daring do, life-changing journeys towards living our best lives. If you're after an injection of inspiration and ideas to live the life that you want and deserve, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hi there, and welcome to the show. Today, I have a fabulous and utterly fascinating guest for you. If you know that feeling when grief or loss leaves you haunted by questions that you just can't shake, today I'm handing you a ticket to a very different kind of conversation. One with hope, hopefully, and one that reaches beyond the everyday. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by my client, Philippa. Now, Philippa has been a psychic medium for over 2 decades, helping people connect with loved ones who have passed over, offering guidance, clarity, and comfort from spirit. And she's not just about talking to the unseen. Philippa also runs intuitive chakra and colour vision board workshops. She runs spiritual development workshops and past life regression sessions, all to do with helping people find direction when life feels more fog than path. But being a psychic medium isn't actually Philippa's day job. So for 25 years, she's been delivering this service to clients in her spare time outside her employed work. But as she looks toward retirement, this is something that Philippa is actively building out for the first time. So today, we're going to find out from how Philippa got into this. Like, when did she know she had a gift? How does it actually work and what does it involve? How on earth has she built a consistent side business when she's never actually marketed her services? What does her offer look like today? And what is she planning next? Now, you might be curious, you might be skeptical, or you might be both. And that's perfect. That's exactly the space that we are inviting you into. Because sometimes the most powerful conversations come when we let go of I know and lean into what if. So let's get into this. I'm super excited. Welcome to the show, Philippa.
Hi, Alison. It's lovely to be here today.
So, well, let's start at the beginning because this totally fascinates me. When did you know that you had a gift? Like, how did your psychic ability show up for you?
Well, I didn't know really that I could do anything connected to this type of work until I was in my mid to late 30s. But it started, I think, with me that tragically we lost our sister in an accident. And after that happened, there were quite a few events because my sister and I were very close in age. We used to share a bedroom. And through the day, it would be fine. I, just got on with life and were more concerned about my parents and the rest of my family. And I was only 13 at the time, probably coming up towards 14. And it was really quite scary. And I've listened to a lot of people that do what I do and how it started with them. And it just seems to have been that a loved one appeared to them. But to me, it was really scary and I had no idea what was happening. There were things that would move around the room and the bed would move. And it was, for a 13-year-old, no clue what was happening. And that continued. I didn't want to say anything to anyone because I was aware, obviously, how the events had affected my family, my parents, obviously, in particular. But one night when I went to bed, because it was immediately covers over the head and tried to pretend that nothing was happening, that I just saw this light just coming up from the floor by the side of my bed. And a figure appeared by the side of me, which now I laugh because when I describe it to people, it's a bit like Gandalf or Gandalf from the film. But he was just a light being. And immediately I didn't feel frightened. It just calmed me down. And he seemed to come up right up over the top of me. And I just remember waking up the next day and feeling a little bit different. And I just got on with life. So those things sort of ended in my memory. And I just got on with things then.
Think too much about it beyond it happened, it felt scary at the time, and then you sort of settled down through that second experience and
Yeah.
you got on with life. So then what happened to bring this back into your life?
Well, unfortunately, when I was 24, my dad became ill suddenly, and within a matter of weeks, he had passed. And that was another awful and traumatic event that myself and all my family went through. And I think because I'd started to get a bit of an interest, you hear people talking that they've been for readings or psychics, etc. And my only experience was what you would probably see on the TV. And I started to book to go and see people. And I was just so emotional that I would always get quite upset. And I would move on then and try and find someone else to go to, because I just wanted this constant reassurance that my dad was okay. And then life just moved on again, and things didn't go well in my marriage. And we decided to go our separate ways. And again, it was just searching for that reassurance that life was going to be okay. And I started using the telephone lines for psychic. Some were good, some were absolutely awful. And I could have gotten into a lot of trouble financially because they're expensive, and no one tells you, oh, well, you contacted us last week, probably best if you don't contact us now for a little while. But eventually I sort of started concentrating on myself, and just out of the blue, I remembered a family friend, a lady called 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗘𝗟𝗟. She was from Newport, and she was a well-known psychic medium there. And I just contacted her, ended up going to see her within a few hours of me contacting her. And she just said to me, we need to get you ready because you're going to be doing this work, which I thought was absolutely ludicrous. Never considered anything like that for myself at all. And again, it's sort of, we only generally end up looking for something that you can connect to, coming to see someone like me when things are going wrong or we don't actually know where we are in our world. And I was just walking through the local town centre in WH Smith's, and I just walked past, there was a set of tarot cards. And I just thought, oh my God, they scare me to death, but I'm going to get them. And I can remember going back to my office and throwing them on the desk. A lady, Mel, that used to work with me, and we just stared at them for about half an hour because neither of us had the courage to open the box. But I eventually did that and just started working my way through. And all of this is probably nearly 30 years ago. And so even though obviously the internet was around, I wasn't really aware that you could search for things, and sort of find out how to do stuff. And so I joined a local spiritualist church after being invited. I didn't stay long, just a few months, because that environment I found was not for me. And I just started going through a process of every evening when my daughter would go to bed, because she's very little at the time. I would just meditate, and I would ask spirit to, even with my eyes closed, and I know it sounds strange to people, but I would sit on my bed. I would go into meditation just to quiet my mind, but I would take myself on a journey. And I built that journey up over a matter of, months, where the journey became quite long, and I would add to it. But when you do that and you create your own journey, it's easy to go into that quiet state and follow that journey until it would get me to a point where I would meet my guides. And I would just sit there, and then I would say, if the answer is yes, show me a light in the top corner of that side of the room. And if it's no, show me a light in the top side. And even with my eyes closed, I could see these lights that would flash. And I just started, and I loved it. I just got into the meditation following that journey. And it just kept going from there.
Dipping your toe, and you were just sort of experimenting, and you were doing it very slowly for yourself, like with yourself to begin with, before doing it with anybody else, before thinking about it. You just were sort of experimenting, I guess, in a way, and trying to build something that felt true and right to you.
Yeah.
And so, oh, sorry,
it was never with a thought that I would be teaching myself how to work with spirit, to work with other people. It was purely to help me.
So what made you switch then from, when you were doing that and you were doing it for you, what caused you to kind of cross the chasm in a way and start working with other people? How did
I think, God, it's such a long time ago. I think really I had a job at the time. I was working for an estate agent in Cardiff, and the people that I would work there, they were lovely, and a couple of us sort of became friends, and we eventually got onto the subject of this type of thing. And one of the ladies just said to me, "Oh, you ought to bring your cards in." And so when the office had shut one Saturday, I just took my cards and I just started to give her a reading. And then from there, it has just gradually been word of mouth, where people have just contacted me because, "I hope you don't mind, but so-and-so gave me your number." And that's basically how it started, because I never did any type of advertising. It never even entered my mind. And there was a funny event that one weekend, my sister and her husband were down from the West Midlands. And I was at my mum's house, and the phone kept ringing because we were living together at the time. And someone was asking for Paula. And I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't say anything because I was going under the name of Paula, because there was, at the time when I was doing this, there was this image of, oh, she must be off her head, there's got to be something wrong with her.
Egg type thing.
Yes, yeah. Where's her crystal ball, So it was sort of under the radar for a good while. And it was so strange, because after the third time of this lady ringing and asking for Paula with the same number, and my sister kept picking up the phone saying, "There's no one called Paula here." My mum looked at me and she said, "It's you, isn't it?" And I went, "Yep." Yeah. So they all then found out, that I was, and basically in Cardiff, because it was where I was working. So it was easy for me not to have to explain that I'm going to be home a bit later this evening because I'm working. And it wasn't being dishonest, but I think a lot of it was just, I didn't have the confidence at that time, and it's taken a long time to build up my confidence.
Imagine this kind of stigma. I mean, particularly years ago, a lot of stigma around this kind of thing, and misunderstanding, and so I can well imagine why you wouldn't want to admit to it in the early days.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this, and the whole thing has grown through word of mouth, which says an awful lot about what you do and the impact that it has. And but if listeners are like me, they will be curious to know what your readings actually look like in practice. So can you explain a little bit about how it works if someone comes to you for a reading? Like, what are they looking for and what do you do?
Yeah, I think that's changed quite a bit as well over the last 20 years, because I very rarely, but now and again, I still get people that will contact me asking me to read their fortunes. And I have no problem with that, but I don't see what I do as being that. And maybe years ago when I first started, people always have the same problems, whether it's relationships or job or just searching for something in their life. But as I've moved through this last 20 odd years, I've also had, sort of things that I've learned just in normal life, but also qualifications that I've actually taken. And I've found that it's gone not so much from prediction, even though people love that. And if spirit feel that you're supposed to have that information, then it will come forward. But it's a lot these days, when people come, immediately my guides will acknowledge and bring forward a member or a loved one of their family that has passed. And they will show me, when I say show me, they show me up here, because it's seeing, it's feeling, it's a lot of information that comes forward, and hearing as well. And they'll show me a light in a particular part of the body, or even all over the body, that will indicate different issues that maybe that people suffered with, or even how they passed. And I always start my readings by explaining to people what's, sort of how I work and how that comes forward. Because when I used to get readings, I wanted proof, I wanted validation that they were actually connecting to something that was true, rather than just reading my body language or my reaction. And so for the first few minutes of the reading, I keep my eyes closed because I'm concentrating, and I don't want to read your face as to what's coming through and then thinking, oh, they don't understand it. But because with my eyes closed, when I eventually do open them, if it's not making sense, and I go back to spirit and ask them for more information, and they go, oh, right now, because very often they'll come with one person in their mind or one situation in their heads, and I believe spirit will give us what we need, which isn't always what we want. And as the reading progresses, it could be that the whole session is connection with different loved ones in spirit, bringing that message forward, that they continue in a different form and in a different place. And if my guides feel that it's important then to look at where that person is in their life, or maybe what they need to focus on at the moment or moving forward, then that will also come forward. And if I am working with someone where they want to know more about what's happening here, then I also use different tools like tarot or oracle cards. Because they can be very specific. And I love the oracle cards because they very much reflect where you are in your life at the moment, and maybe where you need to move forward.
Either people that have passed showing up to, and through you giving evidence to prove who they are, so that the individual that's come to you really knows that it's that person, without any doubt. And and whatever the messages are, it's to help people with where they're at, how they might move forward, what they need to focus on, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's helping people kind of find a way through whatever it is they are facing, I guess, whether that's grief and loss and trying to deal with that, or it's feeling lost in life in any particular kind of area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think when they get a specific amount of information, and it may be, sort of a really random detail that comes through in a reading. A few years ago, I read for a lady that I didn't know, and she was in such an emotional state when she arrived at my door. I actually sat her down and just said, look, are you sure you want to do this? And she's like, yes, she composed herself. And immediately, because the gentleman who wanted to come forward in spirit was just so insistent, and I just went, right, okay, I've got to start because I got Peter with me. And she literally screamed that loud. I frightened me to death. And so once I checked that she was okay, it was her dad, and that was who she wanted to come forward. And without giving too much information away, because it is personal, there was something happening in her life and within her business that was troubling her. And I just said to her, look, I said, Peter's just said to me, you need to look out, because when you see the Harlequin, you will understand why this message has been given. And it was just like, I haven't got a clue. That's all he's given me. And she was like, I really don't understand it. And I mean, to be fair to this lovely lady, she put a review on Facebook for me, and it was amazing, because a few weeks later, the building that she works in is very tall, and she and her husband had gone right to the top floor to look for Christmas decorations to get out. And there were things that were going missing from her office where she was working. And as she went to the back, just moving stuff around, there was a box there, and she put the picture on her review, and it had Harlequin, the clown with the diamonds and the hat. And when she moved the box, the stuff that she had known was stolen from her office was there, hidden there, waiting for someone to go back and take it. So they've been very, there are sometimes random things that we don't expect that come from spirit.
Don't understand in that moment, but that makes sense over the course of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was just so chuffed that she came back to me to tell me that it makes sense. Because there are occasions when I end the reading where I just think, well, I've got no clue what that was about.
Yeah.
But, hopefully it will make sense as we go forward.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I think it's not just about prediction. It is a lot about, as a medium, connecting and giving people that comfort that their loved ones their souls are able to be where it brings them healing and joy, which is connected to us oftentimes here. But also changed in the way that I feel that it's more guidance for people as well in this world when they're looking for a direction that they need to go in, and not just relying on cards, but showing people that they're able to follow their own guidance rather than looking outside for it, that it's within us, that we always ultimately know our path, but fear stops us, and disbelief, no confidence. And so the way I work, it really is to uplift people and to help them believe in themselves rather than just, a picture on a tarot card that's telling them this is what they've got to do. So it's
face to face or online, and what do they cost?
at the moment I charge £40 per person.
My goodness, this is a bargain.
And each session, even though I don't time them specifically, they're around 45 minutes. And the past life regression that I offer, that is usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours, because that's quite intense. And at the moment, the charge for that is £70 per person. And that is another amazing tool that I've found that I'm able to use with clients that really shows up patterns that they're repeating in this life. Even, some people reporting that the illnesses that they're struggling with here, how they're able to improve it just purely by connecting in to something that they experienced many lifetimes ago. So it's really interesting.
Personally, as you know, I'm very interested in all of this. But it's and I know I've read a lot around past life regression and how people will often use it to understand why they might be struggling with particular issues, or physical or mental and emotional in this lifetime by going back, and that understanding and that connection helps them then move forward and release whatever it is in this lifetime. So is all of this work face to face, or do you do things online as well?
The past life regression, definitely face to face. With the readings, then I offer face to face, which I love. Video calls via WhatsApp or Zoom. Now and again, I'll offer email if people have just one specific question that they want answered. That's how I used to offer those many years ago. But I think people prefer that connection with you, either face to face or even like this, sort of this way, because you're able to get more of a connection. But whether it's in the UK or whether it's New Zealand or Canada, because I'm lucky enough to have a couple of clients in those countries as well, it works exactly the same.
Now, you've been doing this for 25 years, kind of quietly in the background, on the side to your day jobs. Like, why now?
Well, I'm looking at retirement in a few years' time. And as much as I enjoy the work I do and I love the people that I work with, it's it's been with me for a little while as to, well, what are you going to do? And this has always been such a big part of my life. And I do feel that it's what I'm supposed to do, because to just find the energy when you've been in work all day and then to come home and sit with people, it takes an awful lot of energy to be able to, go into that with the right mindset. And I've been able to do it because I've seen the results of how this has helped an awful lot of my clients that I've sat with. And I've been so privileged to sit with people that have lost children so tragically, and that they have had indisputable evidence that has come forward from the information that Spirit have passed to me, that and I know two people in particular that it's transformed where they were. And that's not me. I'm not taking the credit for that, because I am the person in the middle that's able to listen and to pass the information forward. But just by them being able to have that experience and know that their loved ones are safe, that they continue somewhere else, that it's not over, it's not the end. It just tells me that this is the work that I'm supposed to do. Living in 2026, very few of us can just go, well, I'm going to put my feet up now and do what I want to do. So it's building it so that hopefully my intention would be that by the time I come to retire, that I've got more of a business there that I can then offer more times during the day and evening to suit people.
Like I said at the start, you're offering not just individual readings. I know you do group work and things, so like you'll even do it for like hen parties or sort of or general groups. But you also offer workshops of different varieties to kind of teach people either about spiritual development, or I know you've got a color and chakra kind of vision boarding workshop coming up. As an example. So you're doing a whole myriad of things in this space where people can potentially, connect with you and experience what it is you do and bring.
Yeah. And it just sort of gives me a lot of energy as well to be able to be within that environment and just show people the benefit of, for example, I do a class, usually a small class because it is quite intimate. It's journaling with oracle cards. And it is well known that journaling can help us. But when I started many years ago, I just found that I was getting stuck on the same old pattern in my head. Whereas by choosing an oracle card, it just reflects where you need to give your focus and how you're able then to move through it. And doing that on a regular basis really helps to get life in a different perspective. And the vision board and the color, because colors can mean so much. And I often read colors on people just to see where they are, because, the chakra system is physical, mental, spiritual. Combining that with oracle cards for a vision board is just a lovely, quiet process that you can also have a bit of fun with, but it helps you to reflect and question. It's not just about going through a magazine and cutting out things that you like the look of. So, which is also really nice, but
there's something a bit deeper to it.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And the spiritual development has always been there. Not so much now, because I know there are plenty of places that people can go for that. But if people approach me, I always, sort of arrange something for them. But those things where I think, especially in this day and age, where it helps people to help themselves rather than waiting for someone to tell them what they should be doing. That's not really the way that I work with spirit. And so it's just giving that grounding, if you like, for people to make a bit of progress. And I'm always there to go, right, okay, so if you've done that, this is what, we'll look at doing next. But I love it.
It's been absolutely brilliant having you on the show. And thanks so much for kind of vulnerably sharing a bit about your gift and how you use it. And now I've actually experienced some of what you do firsthand and can attest to how helpful it is. But for anyone listening, if they're interested in learning more about what you offer, or would like to book a reading or go to one of your workshops or do a past life regression session, how do they get hold of you?
Well, I've got a Facebook page, and that's Philippa Let Spirit Guide You. On Instagram, it's Philippa Psychic Medium. And I always pick up messages on there. You can contact me on yell.com, Philippa Psychic Medium. So, yeah.
I'll include all of those details in the show notes so that people can find you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining and for sharing your story. That's it for this episode. I really hope that Philippa's story has piqued your curiosity and also given you some food for thought on what's possible when it comes to building a passion business from scratch. If you know anyone who would benefit from listening to this conversation and Philippa's experience, please do share this episode. And until next time, just know that I believe in you and in your ability to consider new ways of thinking, as well as follow your own passions. So go do your thing.
Thank you for listening today. I hope our time together has got you thinking about your own adventure in happiness. So please do get in touch. I'd love to hear more about your story. And why not join our Dream Chasers Unite community? There is nothing better than an adventure shared. Until next time, be brave and go create what you crave.